So guys, here are 5 things that were suggested by players to the developers that were actually passed to the developers for consideration that I think are needed right now in the game from January 2025. So we are already in February, and with that, of course, we can basically have 5 things that were suggested that were passed to the developers for consideration. There aren't that many crazy things this time, but it's still pretty cool. We start off from the get-go from a very interesting aircraft, the Lockheed Martin, I think it's Lockheed Martin, right? Sufa. Well, I mean, it's an F-16I Sufa, right? This is basically an Israeli modification out of the F-16D that we have in the game, and it will be probably the best F-16 in the game, or one of the best in terms of BVR and everything. It would be one of the most advanced F-16s in the game, if not the most advanced. It would have an F-15I engine, the Pratt & Whitney one, the 229, right, which is an incredible engine. It produces over 3,000 kilogram more force than the original F-16D, so a lot more power, it would be 20% more or something like that. It's an incredible amount of power. It would have the Dash 4 helmet mounted queuing system, even more modern radar, even more modern ECM if it's ever added, CFTs on top of the aircraft to basically increase the amount of the weapons that the aircraft can take without messing too much with the range of the aircraft, and also, of course, better pods like the Lightning III. It would have better weapons like the 9X and Derby ER, and many new air-to-ground ordinances. So it would be basically the last F-16 to be added for the Israelis, you know, and it would be the most advanced one. Of course, we can have a Block 50, if I'm not mistaken, or something like that, 52, right, I think, as a C model, but as the B-placed ones, it would probably be the last one, and it would be an interesting aircraft. I don't know if it would be after the F-15I or before, but it would still be on that tech tree, and it would be very cool just because of the extra power. That engine, man, oh my god, yeah. Pratt & Whitney, those Canadians, they produce some very powerful engines. So, yeah, very cool. The second one is the A4M, an aircraft that was already leaked a very long time ago, and it is pretty much an American A4N from the Israeli Air Force that we have in the Israeli Air Force, right? Called the AIT, right? So it would be basically that aircraft, but for the US. I don't understand why this thing wasn't added yet. It would be pretty much using the same systems, the same performance, same engine, everything. The main thing here would be that it would change the weapon systems. It would still use the Mavericks and Walleyes and everything, but the missiles, the IR missiles, would be from the AIM-9B up to the AIM-9L that could be added, depending on the BR that they want to add that thing. And of course, the strike missile, the anti-radiation one, and even, you know, paveways bombs. You know, I don't think you would use a pod. It would be a buddy lasing system, if I'm not mistaken, but it's still able to use those bombs in real life. So I don't know why this aircraft wasn't added yet, but it's definitely needed. I mean, the Israelis have one, why not add it to the Americans, right? And then we go for the third one, the Object 432. It is basically a prototype of the T-64, although they apparently produced around 600 of them as just T-64 without a designation letter or anything. But it's basically the initial prototype, initial production T-64, okay? It would be the 60s version before the T-64A from 1971, right? The main thing here is that the armor is completely different. It is weaker in certain areas and stuff, depending on, you know, what we are talking. But the main thing is that it would have the 115mm gun instead of the 125. So it would be a lower BR, and I always wanted this tank. Even if it's added as an event tank, it would be very cool. Like I said, different chassis and many other changes that got added to the 64A later, but it is still a pretty interesting tank to have. And talking about Soviet tanks, we have another one that it's kind of a modification of a tank that we have right now, the T-72A Tisas, which is basically an Israeli modernized T-72 that was captured, and it would feature a much better and modernized fire control system, together with even Israeli armor, more than 550 millimeters of penetration at 2,000 meters, so pretty good rounds, and and some upgrades to the armor as well. So it's a very, very interesting tank, you know, that could be added to the Israelis, basically, maybe as an event vehicle, but even to the tech tree. You know, it's, like I said, it's kind of a capture tank that got upgraded there, but at the end of the day, it doesn't matter too much. It's still technically an Israeli tank, so it should be added there, right? And the last one, and probably the most important one, since we are having the new types of events that we have, it would be the benefit of reworking the event star discount to GE ratio. Basically, this guy, I'm gonna link all the things in the description, and I will mention them at the end of the video. But basically how it works right now is that you have, for example, 85% of the mission points required, for example, to that stage to get a discount, or 95 or something like that, and you pay like a lot less points, like half the points, you know. But it is like almost everything, right? And you still pay 50% of the golden eagles, while if you get like 95, it's like 200 golden eagles. So it kind of doesn't make much sense the way that it works. So the way that he like basically says that it would work, it would basically mean that would be with the progression of the points that you are getting for that star for the event, right? So for example, if you didn't start the event, you didn't do anything, you would still have to pay 1,000 golden eagles, or 999, right? If you do 25%, you will get a 25% of the star, so 750 G if you want to complete with golden eagles. If you did 50%, it would be 500 golden eagles. If you did 75, it would be 250. So it would be a lot more fair, to be honest, to the player that it's doing the work. And yeah, it would just make more people pay more GE there to like get the vehicles. I think it would make not only more fair, it would be easy to time manage and everything, and basically make Gaijin win even more more money, sorry. So yeah, it would make a lot more sense. So I will leave everything on the description, and the suggestions were made. The F-16I was made by Surbasi Maxing. The A4M was made by the Crimson King. The benefit of reworking the event star discounts was made by 2B Vermin. The T-72 one was made by Tsubasi Maxing again, and the T-64 one by Pablo Sniper, which is also a Brazilian. So thank you, man, for doing that. I will leave everything in the description. Let me know in the comments what you think about these 5 vehicles or 5 things that could be added that I think needs to be added right now, and I see you guys on the next one. Bye guys, see you, subscribe.